Right Rocket Entertainment, podcast number 972. March Madness or March Sadness? There's baseball, golf, track and field, and our sweet beloved football returns to the podcast at last. Plus the usual shenanigans, the AU Wishbone is next. Theme song here, if you're listening on the podcast. From the cold Southern Illinois and really frigidly cold Eastern Virginia, because you tune into our show every week to get weather forecasts for those two obscure places, it's the AU Wishbone Podcast, also known as the Auburn Track and Field Podcast. John, how are you doing tonight?
I'm well, Van. How are you?
John, I want you to tell the folks out there what we have in common with Florida State right now that makes us a track and field podcast.
We're one of 5 or 6 schools that did not make a bowl game and did not have a team in the men's or women's tournament.
I mean, Florida State is pretty good company to be in for something like that. That's really weird that both of us. How many years would you think that probably was the case, that Florida State and Auburn both would miss those things? But yeah, that's not good. That's not good, and we're going to talk about it. You can see we've got the brackets for the NCAA tournament. Oh wait, I mean the one we're actually in, the NIT, which we thought now meant not in this timeline, but apparently we are back in that timeline again of not going to the NCAA tournament, which is not good, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But I just want to tell the folks up front, we are not dwelling on the negative tonight, right? I do not want this to be a depressed, oh, woe is us, we missed the NCAA tournament, let's all feel miserable about it. No, we got things to talk about. We're going to look ahead, see what all is going on, and we'll go from there. So, of course, it would help when I'm setting up all the 800 things that we have to set up at the beginning of the show. It would help if I had the soundboard up and running, but now I do. Well, I didn't hit the Screaming for Vengeance soundboard button there, so I guess we are having fun in some ways, just not as much as we would have liked at this time of the year. Where are you? Where are you sitting right now?
Not as fun as I would have expected today,
Right.
But football practice starting on Tuesday, track and field, some good stuff, baseball, some good stuff, basketball continues. So I'm going to say I'm a 4.
Yeah, that's fair. I got to be honest. I mean, I get the bigger picture and we'll talk about it, but just knowing Auburn is playing a basketball game Tuesday night, which that's tomorrow night as we record this and people watch it live on YouTube. And if you're listening on the audio podcast, it's probably tonight. I mean, that's cool to me. I know. I'd much rather be playing on Thursday or Friday. Believe me, 1,000 to 1. But I also would rather I'd also be rather watching Auburn basketball on Tuesday night than not watching Auburn basketball anymore this year. And I mean, I know a lot of people's argument would be, it's weird. A lot of people have this. I want to get your take on this, John. A lot of people seem to have this weird attitude of Auburn needs to be punished for not having a good team this year compared to some previous years. Although, again, this year's team was better. Yeah, exactly. This year's team was better than there was one guy on Facebook that said, Bruce, number 1 in the NCAA tournament seed, Steven, number 1 seed in the NIT. And I'm like, yeah, but Bruce did that in year 11. That wasn't year 1. We weren't even in the NCAA tournament or the NIT in year 1 under Bruce. So, and at least Bruce had more than one player coming back when he put that team together too. So, but anyway, I want your take on that. People have this attitude that Auburn somehow needs to be punished by not playing anymore. And I just don't get that. I mean, they didn't win games they needed to, and that's unfortunate. It kind of messed us up and knocked us out of the tournament. I get all that. But I just don't get this whole attitude of they should just burn down the program and not play in the postseason and fire the coach and get rid of all the players and just rebuild. And all. I mean, if Auburn's playing basketball, I'm going to watch it. I don't get it.
Agree. I mean, I think it's not the same as, at the end of the last football season, I argued that we should not accept a bowl bid, right? And you were always like, hey, more football is good football, right? But at the moment, it was not the right time to do that, right?
Yeah.
This is not that situation. It's not the same at all. No. And Auburn does have the ability to create some positive momentum heading into next year. The transfer portal doesn't open until after the NCAA tournament championship is over. So the coaches are not losing any time where they could be recruiting transfer players. So in that sense, it's fine. It's also like, hey, we have the ability to get out there and play more basketball. Again, if you as an Auburn fan, if you're, have a bitter taste in your mouth and you don't want to watch and enjoy it, then don't. Like, nobody's making you. No. But I'm with Van. More basketball is good, and I'm in, and I'm going to have fun. And I've been working on this all day. You ready?
Yeah.
NIT fever. Catch it.
Please clap.
I like it. We
got to get better at celebrating.
If we win the NIT. Isn't it funny though? Every team that misses out on the NCAA tournament, they always say, well, we just got to go win the NIT. Like, it doesn't work that way, right? Really good teams that barely miss the NCAA tournament don't usually win the NIT. It's usually like some mid-major that gets hot, just like any tournament.
Yeah. UT Chattanooga won it last year.
Exactly. There was a major that was all like, we're going to win it. And then, Chattanooga won because that's so we're probably not going to win this. If you
watch your tongue, bite your tongue, young man.
Hold on. If you watched Auburn basketball in February, this team is eminently capable of losing to anybody, anytime. They're also capable of beating anybody, anytime. So we'll see, right? I mean, we could bow out to South Alabama very easily in game one.
In game one in the Auburn Regional.
The Auburn Regional, which I was saying, here's Auburn, like, well, we'll go to the NIT, but could we wear like Groucho Marx glasses and mustaches and not have like blank jerseys so nobody knows who we are? And the NIT is like, well, you could do that, but we're naming the entire bracket after you and giving you the number 1 seed. So even if you're there incognito, or as Beavis and Butthead would say in Burrito, they're still going to know who you are. They could be like the unified team during the Olympics. Remember when the Soviet Union fell and they had like this conglomerated called the Auburn should have the unified team out there with just blank jerseys, Hey, we're playing a game, and Steven could have like a fedora down low over his face, and his coat collar turned up high, you can't really see who it is, and you just see his nose basically through the coat collar. As somebody with a nose similar to Steven's, I sympathize. I'm not making fun at all. All right, we'll get more to basketball in a minute, unfortunately. But first, we are now a track and field podcast, at least for a little while, because guess what happened at the NCAA Indoor Track and Field Championships the other day? Let me see if I can do this. It's always tricky getting the track and field guys and gals because they often have interesting names. Kayan Sola Ajayi, I'm going to say.
Good shot.
Equals his collegiate record of 6.45 to win the NCAA Indoor Championship at 60 meters. And Jacobe Tharp, both of these guys, by the way, from Auburn, sets a new collegiate record, 7.32 in the hurdles to win the NCAA National Championship. So we won 2 track and field national championships just a couple of days ago. And I felt like this is an Auburn sports podcast. If you look there on the screen, it says Auburn Sports. We needed to mention that. So here's to the track and field dudes kicking butt. War Eagle.
Salute.
Absolutely. And now baseball. We are not huge Auburn baseball like the way we are football and basketball. We're just not, right? We follow it as we when we can and when it's worth following, but it's not the way we see football and basketball. That being said, I just feel like we need to look at Auburn baseball for a minute. They have been killing it.
They're in the top
And
5.
yeah, and the whole thing went away. I had to.
They have a huge game against Georgia Tech tomorrow, Tuesday afternoon, before the NIT basketball game, and then a big time series this coming weekend.
Okay, here it is. They were doing a weird thing with their website. All right, here it is. So I'm just going to run through it real quick. They swept Youngstown State, lost to Cincinnati, so they were 3-1. But then they went out to Arlington to Globe Life Field and beat Kansas State, 16 Florida State, 15 Louisville to win that tournament. Came home, beat West Georgia, Nebraska. So they swept. They lost to Nebraska and won, but they won the series 2-1. They beat Samford and they swept Winthrop. They beat UAB, which is always nice. They came up to here, I didn't know it, and beat Missouri 3 times, swept Missouri to start SEC play. So now they're going to play number 3 Georgia Tech in Auburn tomorrow, Tuesday, March 17th. And then they have a 3-game homestand against Texas, number 2. So they've got some serious and then they have a South Alabama game where they may want to be getting revenge for tomorrow night, depending on how it goes in the NIT. And then we've got a 3-game road trip to Alabama. So swept Missouri. This is an SEC play. Swept Missouri and about to get number 2 Texas, number 3 Georgia Tech, and at Alabama. It's heady days for the 5th-ranked Auburn Tigers.
It's exciting.
Go get them, fellas. War Eagle. All right. Back to basketball. Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Is it 9 p.m. Central or 8 p.m. Central?
9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern.
God bless you, John. Getting to stay up till 1 a.m. to watch NIT basketball.
I'll be honest, this season has been a trial with these late games.
It's true. It is true. I know you've held up well, but it hasn't been fun, I know, and it's bad enough for me. And my wife is right there with you. She doesn't make it. Sometimes she'll be like, "Well, I kind of want to see what's going to happen, but I really want to go to bed." And by the time February was well underway, she was like, "I'm going to bed."
A wise woman.
Yeah. So I do have a quote from Stephen Pearl. They asked him about this. He said, "I'm here to coach basketball. The guys on my roster are here to play basketball. I'm glad we got all that cleared up. We're all here to compete, except in February. I'm not going to duck away." He didn't say that part. "I'm not going to duck away from an opportunity to go out there and prepare and compete and play basketball because that's what we're here to do. I'm not going to take my ball and go home because we didn't make the tournament." All right. So any reaction to SP's words there?
No, I like it. I mean, I think he's saying, hey, we're here to play. We're going to play, and we're not going to, pout about it because we didn't get in the tournament. I think they have the opportunity to go out and win some games and, build a little momentum heading next season. They could try to do it.
If we went back to the late Cliff Ellis, Lebo, Barbie, Interanum, as we called them and called it in the book, imagine going back and telling that John and Van, there will come a day in your lifetimes when half the Auburn fan base will be outraged at the thought of Auburn having to go play as the number 1 seed in the NIT.
Yeah, I don't.
Here is my quote. This was my quote I put on Twitter, on Facebook. I said, other than the 2 Final Fours, which is nothing to dismiss at all, obviously, but other than 2 Final Fours, nothing says more about what Bruce Pearl accomplished at Auburn than the fact that a decade ago, an NIT invitation would have had us dancing in the streets.
Amen.
That's
Again, since the time we've graduated, we've had 2 10-year plus stretches of not making the tournament, NCAA tournament. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay? This is not a new thing for you and I.
No.
I always say, again, my basic goal for the season is make the tournament.
The tournament. That's it.
That's the goal. And we didn't achieve that goal this year, but I also that's why it's a goal and not ho hum, we show up, we're in the tournament.
But people act like Bruce made the tournament every year, and he did not.
Nope.
So yeah,
he made it about half the time.
About half the time, yeah. So Steven's got his job cut out for him, but we'll see what happens. And I'll be the first one to say, look, if he recruits like garbage, and we have an even lesser team this coming fall than we had this year, I'll crank up the burner under him a little bit. Yes. But let's give him a chance to see what happens, because he hadn't gotten to do that yet.
Agree, and I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Here's who we got. We got South Alabama 21-11 in our first game Tuesday night, March 17th.
In Neville.
In Neville. And then I believe we are also in Neville for game 2 if we win. Just don't take for granted. Game 2, we would play either Seattle or St. Thomas, Minnesota. Now, I was saying on Twitter, when I saw that we would play St. Thomas, I'm like, can that be an away game? I'd like to go down to St. Thomas. And then I saw the MN after it. I don't want to go anywhere near MN right now. It's cold enough in IL. It's cold enough here in IL. I don't need any MN in my life. So we would get Seattle versus St. Thomas. Seattle's 20-13, St. Thomas 24-9. Win that one, and we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but win that one, and you're up against, you're still at home, right? And your 4 possibilities, get this, George Mason, they have a famous pedigree as a spoiler, Liberty, Nevada, and Murray State, the Races. And by the way, Murray State is right down south of me in Kentucky, just a little bit south. Mm-hmm. And Mira went to their, thing to see if she wanted to go there, because a lot of people from here go there. It's a school that gets a lot of Southern Illinois. And they were the ones that told us, if you bring a horse, they'll have a stable for your horse on campus. You'd think Auburn would have that with our equestrian program being the way it is, but that's students. Yeah. So
I can't believe Mira did not take them up on that.
I know. Well, we're having a hard enough time figuring out tuition, much less getting her a horse. That's a bridge too far right there.
All right. I just want to point out the other major conference teams that are in the NIT bracket along with Auburn. If you haven't looked at it, Wake Forest is in there from the ACC, Oklahoma State from the Big 12, Cal from the ACC Power Cal. Never I think that's it. No,
Wichita State's a basketball program.
Yeah. George Washington's in the other region. I keep my eye on them.
St. Joseph's with the bird that flaps all the time. Remember
the hawk?
Yeah, I used to come to our football games. And then Dayton. I can't see who's on the bottom down there.
It's Dayton's the 2 seed in that region, so it's Wake Forest, Dayton, Illinois State's in that region.
Hey, they're pretty good. They had a nice little run there. And then we got to point out Yale, the number 3 seed, and the other side of our bracket is Yale. And people were fantasizing about a semifinal matchup of Auburn and Yale, which would be fun. So, all right. So there's as much NIT talk as I plan on doing. I'm going to switch over to.
I'm just going to take a moment and say, have I researched the possibility of doing an NIT pick'em? Yes. Yes, I have. Okay.
Okay. All right. I don't know if we have enough time. It starts tomorrow.
Tempest Fugit, man. I'm working on it.
Okay. All right. That'd be fun. Let's see. So we got to look back at the tournament.
Do we?
Well, briefly, we did win a game over Mississippi State, which was nice. That at least we had a win after the crap February. 79-61. We beat them pretty solidly after struggling the entire game. Played good defense in the second half and were able to pull away, contain Josh Hubbard, which we didn't do the first time we played them. If we had controlled him the first time we played them, we'd be in the NCAA tournament. Of course, if they had counted that shot that we made, the miracle against Texas A&M, we'd be in the tournament. They didn't. That one decision by a ref arbitrarily knocked us out of the tournament. And I knew when it happened that it was going to bite us in the butt. I knew it. But then we lost to Tennessee by 10 on Thursday, and that was pretty much all she wrote. We really needed to beat Tennessee, I think, to have a good chance to get in the tournament.
Agree, and we had no chances. We were up 10 in that game and kind of felt
we led them the whole game. It looked a lot like the Ole Miss Alabama game, except that Ole Miss didn't let Alabama when Alabama made their run late. Ole Miss held on.
Yeah.
When Auburn played Tennessee and Tennessee made their run late, Auburn wilted, and that was unfortunate. I'm going to miss Keyshawn Murphy. He was a really good dude and played hard and was a lot of fun to watch.
You mean starting center in the NIT game tomorrow night, Keyshawn Murphy?
That's true.
He's not dead yet. So.
Not dead yet. That is correct. One more, at least one more, maybe 6 more. Who knows with this team? Yeah. Yeah. Anything else about the tournament before we look at the team in general?
No, I mean, I watched some other games in the SEC tournament and I enjoyed them. So I enjoyed Arkansas Ole Miss game. Yeah, watching Alabama lose was great, and then the Arkansas Ole Miss game was spectacular.
That was a really good one. Yeah, I thought we're going to have freaking Ole Miss and Vanderbilt in the SEC final. How crazy would that have been? But we ended up poor Vandy. I thought they could do it, but it's one of those things where the one team succeeds in knocking the big guy out, and then they just can't close the deal. Right? It happens every year. You know, the year that one of the years we won the tournament, it was because like Tennessee beat Kentucky or something, and then we beat Tennessee.
Yes. So
all you really do is open the door for the other side of the bracket. But Ole Miss knocked Alabama out, Vanderbilt knocked Florida out, and that just opened the door for Arkansas.
That's right.
That's how tournaments go. It's weird. It's a weird thing, but that's how it goes. Because it's not a round robin. That's the season. You know what's a round robin, John, is the way that the World Cup is played. And I just wanted to show everybody real quick. We're going to do some special coverage this summer because this summer is the World Cup. And so I got me this here gorgeous replica jersey of the 1994 U.S. team that was the host. They were the host that year, and they beat Colombia in the first round in a shock upset of the tournament favorites. They tied Switzerland in the Silverdome, and we won't talk about what happened with Romania. And they got through to the second round where they had to play Brazil, the ultimate winners of the tournament, on July 4th in the Rose Bowl. And they held them 0-0 for most of the game until finally Brazil scored 1 goal and won 1-0 in the first knockout game. But the U.S. just getting to that knockout phase was huge. It was like getting to the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament, really. And so we're going to be doing some special coverage this summer coming up in a couple of months. And so I've got my replica 94 USA jersey here the faux denim that Adidas put us in for that year. This is just, to me, the most gorgeous thing the U.S. has ever won, just because it's audacious, it's gauche, it's in your face, it slaps you around a little bit, and it doesn't say it says, hey, look at us, man, USA, baby. That's what it says, and that's what I love. So
that's why
stay
podcasting
tuned.
is visual medium.
That's right. So yeah, if you don't see it, it's because you're listening to the podcast version rather than the YouTube version. But anyway, yeah, I'll probably drop those episodes here and on the White Rocket Pod as we go forward. That'll be a lot of fun. All right, what else we got to talk about? The
Basketball.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the transfer portal. The basketball transfer portal window opens the day after the national championship game and is open from April 7th to April 21st. So that'll be a very interesting time. We'll have lots of news, I'm sure, coming out about who is staying and who is going, and it'll be interesting to see who Auburn brings in next year, reinforcements. So
absolutely, and they need to find several.
Yep.
We need at least one big man. We need a legitimate point guard. We need several things.
We need some big wing guys who could defend the three.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That's for sure. Yeah. So
I was going to have a conversation about should we have made the NCAA tournament, but we're good. We don't have to do that.
I think we've kind of, I'm trying to log into the Formula One site so we can do that in a minute. But
all right. So given that Auburn is not in the tournament, do you have a team that you cheer for? What's your view of the bracket without Auburn? I told somebody today, I like it because I could watch the NCAA tournament and not stress about it or worry about it. I can just enjoy the good basketball.
Yeah, I've said this before, that that Auburn not being in the NCAA tournament is like having a World Cup and the USA doesn't qualify, which thankfully will not be a problem this year because we're the hosts. We automatically qualify. We would have anyway. It's the difference is in the World Cup, I have other teams I root for. I root for Scotland genetically and Ireland. I root for Argentina and Italy as my sort of tactical favorite teams. So I have other places to go. But I don't root for any other college or university other than Navy and the Army-Navy game and a little bit. That's really it. So, and I think Navy's in the NIT with us.
Navy, I was going to say Navy's in the NIT. We might play them.
Yeah, we could. They're on our side of the bracket. So, yeah. So I'm just going to watch it very casually. There have been years that my spring break was the same time as the first week in the tournament. And that's just glorious because I can just go to a sports bar and hang out there all afternoon watching basketball and eating nachos and drinking beer and stuff. But this year, it's not. We just finished spring break. I got to see the SEC tournament. And so I'm probably just going to have it on my phone at work or, catch. I don't know. I'll probably end up watching it more than I think I will, just because just muscle reflex, if nothing else. That's what you do. What are you going to do? What's your plan?
I mean, I love the first 4 days of the tournament. I love it. I'm gonna watch as much as I possibly can. I don't have a bunch of backup teams that I cheer for. VCU is a hometown team where I live, and they play North Carolina on Thursday night, so I'm fired up about that game. Be interested to see that. So other than that, I'm cheer against the teams playing the other SEC schools. Cheer for those teams to beat the SEC teams. So I'm excited to see what happens with those teams, and I wish there would be a lot of upsets, but I think we've entered an era where the best teams are so far better than everybody else. Last year was very chalky, and I think this year is going to be very chalky too. I just think like Arizona, Michigan, Duke, those teams are way up here, above everybody else. And even like the Florida, Houston level teams are way above the average teams of the tournament. And I think those top teams are going to rampage through the tournament.
I feel like that's one of the things that Sonny Smith said to us when we talked to him was that
Mhm.
modern basketball has gotten to the point where you can't really upset the big teams as easily as you could back
That's
years
right.
ago. Yeah. So, and that brings in that whole thing you brought up last week about analytics, where knowing, just keep shooting threes and dunking and all. And that just makes me want to smash my head on the wall. It's so depressing. But,
Agree.
all right. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, I will cheer for Illinois because Mira's about to go there. But everything I've seen out of Illinois this season is like they're like a much better Auburn. And by what that I mean, they're supposed to be really good. And yet every time I watch them, they find a way to lose to somebody. I don't know what their deal is.
I
but-
think they're a good team, but not a great team. I think they could win a game or two, or they could blow it in the first round too. But they're not going beyond the 16, I don't think.
No, they got a bunch of big, slow white dudes, and then one actually athletic player, and then that's it. And they're not very, not very exciting. So, all right. So, I was just thinking, what's ahead for us this year? This is actually a really good sports year. The off years are cool because you get the non-summer Olympic, the non-presidential election years are great sports years because you start out those years with the Winter Olympics, which is usually pretty fun, way better than the Summer Olympics usually. And then as soon as the Winter Olympics are over, you've got college basketball getting really good the whole time, which is fun. And then you got the tournament in March and April. And then Formula One started back at the beginning of March. So you got Formula One going on, IndyCar going on. And then the Indy 500 is like a month after the basketball tournament ends in May, which is awesome. And then we roll right into the World Cup in probably June and July, which is going to be amazing because it's going to be bigger than ever. They're going to have I don't remember how many teams this time, but more than they've ever had before. This is going to be a fantastic World Cup spread out over 3 countries for the first time ever. And then as soon as that's all over, it's time for Alex Golesh's Auburn football season #1 to begin. Oh, can't wait. The whole year is blocked out. Something going on almost every weekend, and Auburn baseball scattered in there.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows what sport we're going to win a national championship in next, John? Who knows what's next? The horses win all the time. Let's have another one of those.
Golf.
Hey, they're working on it. They're working on it. We're in everything school. It's just not everything is great right now, but we do all kind of things well, and that's good, and that's fun. So it should be fun. All right. Speaking of Alex Golesh and football, I wanted to ask you this before we get into spring practice and stuff. Did you catch was it Andy Staples' show last week where he said he talked to some coaches and was surprised how negative some of them were about Golesh?
No, I did not see that.
Well, you're probably better off, but he did say that. But this was interesting too. He said that one coach, he asked, why are coaches negative on him? And they said, because he's kind of arrogant and dismissive. And, you remember the famous scene where he basically told the other coach, I forget which one it was, to go jump on the lake or something.
Yeah, that guy was a schmuck.
Yes, he was. But this is what this coach said to Andy Staples. I think it was Andy Staples. He said, yeah, Golesh is that way. He said, but maybe that's what Auburn needs right now. I could see it.
I get that. I don't have a problem with
fire. A little competitiveness, a little fire. Yeah, I'll take it.
I'll buy that.
What do we got going on with football coming up?
Again, as I said, spring practice right around the corner, going to start Tuesday. One of the things I saw in the last day or two is interesting is they're turning into a big recruiting event. They're going to have a bunch of high-profile recruits on campus for the opening of spring football practice.
Interesting.
So I think it's, we don't know. It's new staff. We bunch of new players. whole roster turnover. So I think there's a lot we're going to learn in spring practice more than some other years when we kind of knew a lot of what the deal was, right? I think there's going to be a huge learning curve. Is there something specific that we want to learn or hear more about at spring practice? Is there something that you're like, this is what I'm interested in?
I'm curious to see how everything meshes together because we know the quarterback and the receivers mostly know each other. I'm curious to see how the running backs look since we haven't really seen any of these running backs, but really, I guess, one or two of them so far. And then the offensive line, of course, is a thing. I'm all looking at the offense. I'm assuming the defense is going to come together okay, pretty well. I mean, I know it won't be. We're not like Super Bowl level quite yet, but I kind of have faith in our defensive coordinator to kind of assemble another good, solid unit. And then, I mean, Byron Brown did what he did last year with almost no defense. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do when he can put some points on the board, and then there's a defense we can stick out there to limit the other team. I feel like, you know what I feel like we could look like, and this may be overstepping a little bit, but just kind of in this direction. I feel like this team could be a similar. It's at least on the path toward being kind of like last year's Texas A&M. Pretty solid defense, mobile quarterback, some athletes on offense, but maybe a little more cohesive game plan on offense, players that are a little more used to playing together, senior quarterback. Yeah.
That team was a little more big play, maybe more of a consistent, efficient offense, less dependent on the big play than they were. But I like it. I think that's a good comparison.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing that comes to my mind. So you had a good point here about one player on offense you're kind of curious about.
Well, I was trying to think about players who will get new opportunities based on the change in the coaching staff and the change in the depth chart around them. And I'm like Bryce Cain. I'm interested.
Yes.
I want to see what he can do. I think he's a slot receiver who has talent, who has not had his chance, but he's still here. And I think this is an offense that, we're going to make things happen on offense. I think they're looking for guys to get the ball to, and that running game and Byron Brown are going to absorb a lot of attention. So somebody's going to get some easy open runs.
Yeah, and he's the guy that of the four that came in together 2 years ago, he's the one that really hadn't played much. Unless I was looking the other way every time he was on the field, because obviously the other three played a lot, relatively speaking. But he hasn't really been out there, and he was supposed to be really good, right? I mean, he was a four-star.
But I think we had experienced, talented guys in front of him. He was just kind of blocked.
Yeah. Well, and they brought in more, so we'll see. The guys that we brought in from South Florida, though, I've been hearing better and better things about them. They're not just like journeyman, they're supposedly really good. So
we got a bunch of big, tall, athletic receivers from South Florida. I'm interested to see what happens.
Neptune and Nimrod, like two of the greatest receiver combo names since Aroma Shadu and Obamanu. Neptune and Nimrod. It sounds like we've sent the Nimrod probe out to Neptune to see what's going on out there, and we'll find out what happens. But I'm pretty sure that's straight out of Project Hail Mary, which comes out this coming weekend. So, by the way, let me ask you that, since this is an everything podcast about everything, are you looking forward to Project Hail Mary? I know you read the book, right?
Oh, I'm incredibly looking forward to it. I'm very excited.
That's right. I think I asked you about it last week. Yeah, I've already got my ticket. Saturday. It starts Thursday. Mira's birthday is Thursday, so I can't go Thursday. But she's having, I mentioned last time, right? She's having people over. I think I mentioned this. She's having people over Saturday night. I'm like, well, off I go to the movie theater. All her little friends, she's 18, but all her friends coming over, and so I'm going to the movie theater. I had one other thing about the basketball that I meant to tell you. We have our regular co-host Boris the Tiger here. And hold on, Boris, we'll get your microphone set there. Boris we've never had this entity on the show before. Not Boris, obviously. Boris is on here all the dang time. Probably too much for some people. But Boris wanted to introduce somebody that is very upset and not thrilled about how the basketball has gone. You may or may not be familiar from Twitter with Boris's little buddy, Neville the Peacock. And Neville is very disappointed. Oh, there you go, Neville. Look at John's shirt. Yes. So you will recall how that goes back a couple of years, right? To when Auburn Twitter was wanting people to embrace our success and not be afraid of it, right? Not be intimidated by it. You got the T-shirt, and my family ended up with Neville the Peacock in person here. There's your eye of the peacock. So we're trying to talk him off the ledge and calm him down as to how this season went. So that was your first and probably last appearance of Neville on the show.
Thanks, Neville. I'm a big Peacock fan. I want to one more thing about spring football before we move on. Bill Conley, who I've referenced on the show before, does the SP Plus rankings, whatever. He did a column for ESPN.com where he ranked basically all the quarterbacks in college football next year in the power conferences from 1 to whatever. And so he ranked number 1, he ranked the quarterback coming back at Notre Dame, CJ Carr, then the Ohio State quarterback and the Ole Miss quarterback and Arch Manning. Number 10 in the country, Byron Brown.
Well, I'd like him to be a little higher than 10, but I'm certainly happy to have 10.
10 in the country. I think he's third in the conference, fourth in the conference.
Given the last few years, that's incredible,
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I'll be delighted if we're in that place.
I'm really curious to see what happens with Deuce Knight. If he ends up on the bench another year and how much he gets to play, if any, and because everything I've heard is we offered him the same amount of money. He just thought he was going to get to play at Ole Miss, and that didn't work out. So I'm really curious. I still like him and think that he had tremendous potential and upside, and I wish it could have worked out differently, but I understand. So, but man, just watching that one game, just go back and watch the Mercer highlights from last year. I know it was Mercer, but still. Looked like Cam Newton out against a junior high team. It was a thing of beauty. Well, we got to thank the patrons for keeping us commercial free. Am I forgetting something?
Well, before we leap to the patrons, I just want to thank the patrons and encourage them to check their email for the March Madness bracket invitation that we sent out on Sunday.
I did not get one.
You should have gotten one directly from ESPN.com, but I will take care of that right now. If you did not get one, you email us at auwishbone@gmail.com, and I'll take care of it. There is already 34 people in the group.
Boris has already got his.
I know Boris is in. Couple of pretty good team, bracket names. NIT picking, so nitpicking. It's pretty good. From Chris Como. See if there's anybody else I just love in here in terms of no bracket for old men. That's pretty good. So, but if you did not get the invite, if you need it, you let me know and I will take care of it.
Okay. Well,
and you can compete against Van, Boris, Jared, and myself. And the other champions of our fans.
Make sure Jerry got one too.
I'm on it.
All right. So we've got the March Madness brackets going on, about to get cranked up this weekend or this week during the week. And that's always exciting. We've got Fantasy Formula 1. It's now 2 races in, but pretty soon there's going to be a 5-week break because they've had to cancel Saudi Arabia and Bahrain because of all the stuff going on in the Middle East. So we're going to have a long early season drought. Here's how the Fantasy Formula 1 is stacking up right quick. War Eagle Racing, one of my teams, thank goodness, moved up to number 6, and they're only a couple of points out of number 2. Dang you, Eric Morgan. You're already pulling away with your dang team, you dang it. Eric Morgan, Mississippi Racing, is number 1 with a sizable lead already. Like, he's basically the George Russell of our Fantasy Formula One League this year. Michael Kirshner's Formula MK1 is at number 2. Zachary Doran's Doran F1 team is at 3. Eric Morgan's other team is number 4. Rob Morgan, the Morgans kill us. Kind of Orange and Blue is also tied at number 4. 4 points. They're both ahead of the two of them are both 4 points ahead of me at number 6. And then Mark WM with ERFC 26-2. Lane Middleton with Comeback Season at number 8. My other team is at number 9, Scuderia Plexico Rosso. And number 10 is Rob Morgan's Orange and Blue Train at number 10. So, and here's the lineup of what Eric Morgan's Mississippi Racing, which is currently dominating. Oh, no wonder. How did he do this? He's got Kimi Antonelli and Charles Leclerc and the Ferrari team and the Haas team. No wonder he's there's always one owner in Fantasy Formula One that finds a way to warp the salary cap somehow and get like everybody good on their team. Last year it was having Mercedes and like 2 great drivers. And this year it's Eric's Mississippi Racing. So I'm really annoyed, but what can we do? I've got Leclerc and then Mercedes and Haas. So I feel pretty good about that team. In fact, they scored me 358. Eric scored 375. Oh, well. That's the Fantasy Formula One. If you want to play Fantasy Formula One with us, you've only missed 2 races, jump on in. Go to www.auwishbone.com. Click on the button Become a Patron. The folks that have done that and keep us commercial free, and I think we're up to that now, are we not? Yes.
We are.
I sneezed a while ago and I got all of verklempt, as they say. They include our great title sponsor, Samuel Salvatore, who always enjoys when we hit the and also we have to thank Logan Chilton, who always reminds us what we sacrifice to be Auburn fans. And in fact, what we sacrificed this year was the NCAA tournament. But
so what do I sacrifice? Everything.
That's exactly. Ben Spooner, the thought of Auburn not being in the NCAA tournament.
Blasphemy!
Yes. Carl Von Drunker, Chris and Clinton Stewart. Baseball is straight up killing it right now. And that's why I wanted to make sure we talked about it a little bit tonight. Earl Ricks, Phil Amthor, now giving Van and John a break from the no sound clip since the dismal years are over, I hope. Well, I hope so. This is going to be a fun sports year, you guys. Richard Stevens, Steve Trawick, Ann Pridgeon, Shane Bailey, Susan Trawick, Willie Carden, Wynn from Norman, Oklahoma, Gary Grant, a.k.a. Ufinic KSC, William Morgan, Bradley Blackman, Eric Morgan, Michael Kirshner. You see our whole Fantasy Formula One league crammed into this one little area. War Eagle, John and Van, or at least a big chunk of it. David W.D. Salmons Esquire, G-Money, Rich Reimer, Steve Harlan, Wes Atkinson, Dan Thompson, a few more patrons, then back to the authorities, which reminds me I still got to get a hold of some audio of us going to the Final Four at the end of the Michigan State game from last year, because I want to do a new intro thing for the show. And I got some ideas, but I need that audio to make it work, and I can't find it. Catherine England, Will Summerford, no one fights like Gaston. War Eagle always, Jacob and Robin Fleming, Mickey B, Winston Body, washed up fantasy F1 team principal, Brandon Smith. By the way, another thing that I always think of things while I'm doing this. And it slipped my mind again. I'm going to keep going. Brandon Smith, Daniel Odom, 2008, 2009 Taliban Wrangler world champion, H-Town Danny, WDE Richie. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention, that was it, is that, you know, that one of our early inspirations for how we do this show, and that was the other thing, I was seriously trying to put together a new skit. We haven't done a little audio comedy bit in a long time, and we got some time coming up over the next few weeks. So I'm working on something. I got something cooking. We'll see. Little SCTV, SEC, SCTV going on there. It should be fun. But I was going to say, one of our inspirations early on for this show was the Men in Blazers show, right? We've never been afraid to admit that we shamelessly copied some of their great ideas. And I wanted to tell folks that if you like that show, or you like how we did ours based on that, and you like the Men in Blazers or soccer, Roger Bennett, who's the guy that's kind of most responsible, along with Michael Davies, Roger Bennett, his second book is out now. I've been listening to it on Audible, and it is so good. He reads it himself, so it's like listening to an extended Men in Blazers podcast. But he goes over every World Cup going back to when he was in high school or a kid or whatever. And he not only talks about the World Cup and the United States and England and everything, but he also does kind of an autobiography. Here's where he was. Here's where they were. Here's how he met Davo and got the idea for Men in Blazers. And it's really cool because this is pertinent to our show. One thing that I've been really interested to discover about it is that, you know, all the stuff that they would do that I would be like, hey, John, we need to do something like that, because they had this great idea. It was very spontaneous, and they had not really planned to do it, but like he just happened to run into somebody and they said, oh, I heard your podcast. Why don't you come on our show and do this? So he ended up on MSNBC. And then he ran into Michael Davies at a wedding, and they were watching soccer on the TV while the wedding was going on. They started talking about soccer. Next thing you know, they're doing the Men in Blazers show. And he said, like they ended up in Brazil in that little broom closet doing their World Cup coverage in what they call Bob Lee's panic room, which with the feral donkeys and the tiny bananas, right? He said that they didn't even plan that. ESPN said, we're going to send you guys down to Brazil to cover the World Cup. And when they got there, that was literally the space they had available. So it wasn't that they had a clever idea, let's do the show in a broom closet. They got put in a broom closet and said, let's make this into something fun. And I really respect that. I thought that was really cool because they made it memorable, right? He says, if we'd been in a big studio, it wouldn't have had the flavor.
But also, they could have been miserable and complained about it the whole time. Instead, they made it fun.
Exactly. So, I've always hoped that our show had that kind of an appeal, and it's kind of the same thing. He talks about, he had a really good line, and I'm going to get back to the folks in just a second. But this is stuff I've been meaning to say and I forgot because it echoes so much with us, right? There are a lot of Auburn podcasts, and they're all one degree or another great. And I respect them all. Anybody that shows up and does their show every week or every day or whatever, in the case of Zach Blackerby, the great Zach Blackerby, doing it every day, I have nothing but respect and admiration. But having said that, you and I have always tried to do this show a little bit differently, right? We're just utterly homers, make no bones about it, and we try to have fun with it. And we go in places with it that others don't, just for fun, right? We've done all kinds of things over the years just to shake things up. And I thought that was the right thing to do. And I felt better about it because Raj quotes this guy that had a very successful sort of a niche show that told him, as much as you try to expand horizontally, he said, don't ever stop serving vertically down, because you can try to reach more people, but if you stop being what people like, you won't get either one, right? You've got to keep doing the thing that makes you unique and reaches that depth, even if you don't get much bigger. And our show has pretty much had the same size audience now for the last 6 or 7 years. And that's fine with me, but I feel like we have a very loyal and appreciative audience that doesn't It doesn't grow as fast as I might like, but it doesn't shrink, and I think they enjoy it.
Agree.
So we're going to keep being wacky and having fun and all that kind of stuff. I mean, everything
being pure fans.
Pure fans. But I mean, we've done comedy skits. We did Match Game one time. We have Boris show up occasionally. We have all kind of wacky things that are just for fun, just to kind of keep people entertained. So and especially us. That's the main thing. I always feel like if we think it's funny, there are people out there that'll either think we're insane or it's funny or both. So there you go. Let's see, where was I? H-Town Danny, WDE Richie, Chris Hilton, Bob, WDE Salmons, Auburn University Debate Team 7475, and current Sleazy Shyster, Algo Rhythm and Blues, Rusty Owens, Goodbye Hugh, Luther and Kelly Ottaway. What music band do farmers listen to when they are bringing in their harvest? Hall and Oates.
Oh.
I got to say, as much as we maybe haven't done as many bits over the last couple of years as we used to, the listeners have tried to pick up the slack for us, and I appreciate that. they really tried to lift their end of the boat. Todd Robinson, aka undisputed 2012 doubles badminton intramural champion. Chad McDowell, Auburn football's Elvis, Wade Ward, Reynolds Wolf. Yesterday was Reynolds' birthday, I believe. So happy birthday to the great.
Like an unwanted neighbor that comes over and visits.
From the Weather Channel, Reynolds Wolf.
Thunder snow.
Oh, I love it. Philip Martin, Jeff Hunter, David G is the health and safety rep for John's Barbecue Foot Massage. And you bring him anything, he'll put it in the fryer. He will put it in the fryer. Alex and Michael in Singapore. Hey, that's right. We did have a listener that wrote in and said they were in Singapore. I was there for a year back in 2005, and it was a good time. I tell you what, when it's freezing cold outside like it is today, I literally say, man, I wish I was still in Singapore. I'd take 90 over 2 anytime.
Amen.
Mark Margolis, sorry if I mispronounced names, Timothy, Russell Milling, Randall Walker, David Simpson, Josh Teal, Tony Perry, Rob Morgan. There's another one of them dang car racing Morgans. Patrick Williams says the AU Wishbone.
Whether you like it or not, learn to love it because it's the best thing going today.
Woo! Construction Tiger, Papa Todd, Cato, the SEC Pick'em champion, Stephen Houston, Kevin Mahan, Blake Heron, Sarah Hines, Sasquatch, 7-time North America hide-and-seek champ and last year's bracket winner. Tim Pittman, our own beloved Boris the Tiger. What? Charles Mooney, I tried to give Arnold lemonade, but he told me it's not a tumors. I like that one. That feels very, I made it up, and I respect that. I respect that. David D, Auburn Blue, Dr. Crackham, Bill Weathers, Eternal Glory. Walt is at least excited for baseball, softball, golf, tennis, and dare I say it, football. Woo! Antoine Morris, ABB, Wiggeber, 2005 Auburn University Intramural Horseshoe champion, Tyler Ward, Mark Squire. Cue the anthem, boys. Let's give them a little bit. Auburn, #1 in baseball, I guess, or at least #5. Tyler Ward, Mark Squire. I already did them. Alex Wynn, Kenneth Brent Rain says the barbecue.
You have failed me for the last time.
AKA Auburn for life. John Stubbs, Clay Henson, Justin Bean, James Taylor, Ruth, and Darren Sutherland, Ben Amos. And finally, Spanky, the AU Wishbone, my new happy place, Larry Bird. Well, we know.
Larry Bird's not walking through that door, fans. Kevin McHale's not walking through that door, and Robert Parrish is not walking through that door.
But hopefully at least a couple of big, tall guys and a point guard are walking through that door. And like you said, a defensive wing would be nice too. Chris Como, Darren Pyle, Theodore Gary, David Smiley, Trevor Johnson, Royce Alvarez, college equestrian expert Auburn Elvis, AU Falling Up, John Atsuki, Paul Banks, and MVP captivating Kathy Bright.
Your love of the halfling's leaf has clearly slowed your mind.
Ben Regas, Bobby Polite, Elizabeth Donald, I'll Buy This for $1, Rich Hammett, Chris Braun, Alex Browns, the Slinko family, Daniel Witten, Tim Sauls, Jim Ricori. Why did the frog take the bus to work? His car got towed. I am Tiger. New York Tiger is giving John a break from the dad jokes this week. War Eagle. John's pulmonary system appreciates that. He usually strangles, and I'm worried he's going to fall over dead. CT Tiger, Jim Myers, Trey Jackson, Howard Franz, Peter Wang, Willie Moe, Zach Doran, Chris, and our one-time anonymous donors. We thank you all. www.auwishbone.com. I'm keeping my fantasy Formula One lineup another week because I like having Leclerc and Mercedes and Haas, all three of those on my team. I'm okay with that, honestly. So, and I mean, what's his name isn't going to win every week. So,
do you know who the coach is that has that line about Larry Bird's not walking through that door?
Isn't that Rick Pitino?
Rick Pitino, currently coaching St. John's.
And currently lost on an 0-1 streak to Stephen Pearl.
Amen. But also, like, that was, whatever, 20 years ago when he was the Celtics coach.
Yeah.
And now he's back coaching St. John's.
Yeah. He went to Kentucky, and he's been everywhere. He was Providence back in the day.
He was the Knicks coach for a while.
Yeah. He's been all over the place. Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
Been everywhere. All right. So www.auwishbone.com. I mentioned that already. Don't have a guess the game. We don't have worst coaches in the world. So let's just go ahead and get to.
Thank you. Order. Questions to the Prime Minister.
It's time for listener questions. Dun, 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 on the AU Wishbone podcast.
There was my about to be high school graduate heading off to college, and she's forever 4 in that or whatever.
All right. While I'm reading this, you can start looking for the audio when I forwarded you.
Oh, okay.
First we have a follow-up email from listener Mark M. from New York City, who emailed in last week and said he was not an Auburn alumni and wanted our opinion about him saying War Eagle. And he emailed in to just say, thank you for reading my question on air during last week's podcast and the thoughtful answer. I feel much better about saying War Eagle now.
Well, I'm really glad because it was a very sincere question.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand his question. I thought it was a good question, but heavens no, you should always be able to say War Eagle if you love Auburn, regardless. You said you sent me a message. I got the NCAA tournament bracket challenge.
Hold on. I'm sending it again. While this is getting there and you're downloading it, I'm going to read the next question, which is from Logan Chilton. And the subject line is, may I opine? He says, gentlemen, I wanted to offer a brief moratorium on this basketball season. I listened to last week's show a little later and wanted to offer a few thoughts after our whimper out of the SEC tournament. I'm writing before Selection Sunday because I don't want what happens to shade my thoughts one direction or another. I'm not mad with the pure outcome of the season at all, and I'll never begrudge Bruce for anything. The question I like to ask people who are mad or call Stephen a Nepo hire is this. In March of 2014, after getting hammered by South Carolina in the first round of the SEC tournament and ending it with a sub-500 record, as Jay Jacobs went to the podium to announce Bruce as head coach of Auburn basketball, what price would you have paid that day to have Bruce retire after his second Final Four appearance and multiple SEC titles? What would you have given? Most fans would have laughed at the absurdity of the question, and I try to keep that in perspective. I think Bruce knew as he recruited this roster that he wouldn't be the one coaching it, but it still causes me to scratch my head. I know why we missed out on a top-class big man, and I'm not mad that we were thin in areas. The composition of this roster confused me, not as a Bruce Pearl roster. Bruce recruited guys from small schools who were hungry and we knew would bust a gut up and down the court every single possession. His expectation was maximum effort, and his teams reflected that. He had to know that Keyshawn Hall did not fit that mold, that he was a selfish player who takes possessions off. The other pieces of the team would do the same. There's only one or two players in this roster I would classify as an Auburn-style basketball player, and they're young and raw, which is okay. If I were to criticize Bruce or Steven, it's for the composition of a roster that puts Steven in a position where he was doomed to fail. The first year as head coach isn't the time to have a power struggle over the locker room culture, and it seems that what we have. I think I'd be happier if we started with a less talented roster who worked hard and played together but had poor results. We see proof of concept from Steven and know that we do or do not have something to build on. Instead, I think I'm frustrated because we have a pretty talented but lazy team that looked at times like coach, it couldn't be asked on defense, and he was out of ideas on offense. We'll have to go in a year two with Steven as if it's year one. If we've learned anything about him as a head coach, it wasn't positive. I'm behind him, and if growing pains are the cost of a pair of dream seasons and lots of fun on the hardwood, then I'm happy to pay it. But I'd like to see us get back to our principles and play good basketball rather than flail for a foul. I'll root hard for this team if we end up in a playing game for the tournament, but I'm not going to be sad if I never see Keyshawn Hall in an Auburn jersey again. Being denied a piece of the big dance might be better optically than us getting embarrassed by a quality mid-major in a play-in or the first round. Your thoughts?
That was a good email. We have kind of covered the points that he's asking about, though. And obviously we didn't even make it to the play-in. We're NIT bound, so. And
he ends by saying, as a quick housekeeping note, and in the hope that football becomes our happy place again, I hope sincerely you're able to do a breakdown of position by position of the football team this summer, since we only have a few players returning. By my calculation, there are 12 position groups to look at, which means you have to finish the position review in time for the barbecue show and the Baylor preview that needs to start a month after A-Day, which is in a month. Wow. Hard to believe it's that soon, but it sneaks up on us, and I'm ready to look ahead. Anyways, War Eagle Logan.
Great stuff. It always sneaks up on us because we have to think about how we got to get all that done before the beginning of the season, and there's always Dragon Con in there and everything too, kind of complicating things. So late August is a very busy time around our areas, so we have to get these things underway in like June. And don't forget, we also sometime the next couple of months want to do our rewatchables with Auburn and LSU. So that'll be a lot of fun. So
I got one more. Did you get the email I sent you?
Yes. You ready?
Go.
Or you want me to? All right. This is from who was this from? Carol?
Yes, Wayne Carroll.
All right. Here it comes.
Gentlemen, I hope this email finds you well. I am just returning from karaoke, and so music is on my mind a lot. And particularly the relationship that Auburn football has to certain songs. Whether it's songs that are played at the start of games, after games, or at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Now, I'm a little bit younger than y'all, so I was there during the 2010 season when All I Do Is Win by DJ Khaled was this very iconic sort of reminder of what a remarkable season that was. And I've never really been able to ever hear it again without thinking back to those days, watching Cam just absolutely run through that LSU defense for that Heisman moment touchdown. You know the story. And as a younger fan, I definitely remember inherently tying Survivor's Eye of the Tiger to Auburn football as well. So my question is, as we are sort of entering this new generation of fans, and they're going to have their songs that are attached to Auburn football, I would be very curious to hear what two Gen Xers who I teach about in my history classes, what they would consider to be if
God.
they had the terrible and awful power to pick Auburn's pregame song, fourth quarter song, and victory song. What would those three songs be? I'll hang up and listen. Thanks as always. Lynn from Norman.
It's a beautiful question. I don't know. He's obviously wanting us to take something from like our day, which would be like the 80s and 90s, right? That this late, for anything from the late 70s to the mid 90s would be our era. I think our sweet spot. So, I'm going to think about it. I don't know. I don't know if I can just pull something out of my rear end here on the air live.
I mean, I'll throw some things out, right? Again, like, yeah. Did we enjoy Eye of the Tiger before game? Sure. Yeah, we did. Not a
Sure.
problem.
Classic.
Here Comes the Rain again during that West Virginia game. It's a classic.
And during the and Blame It on the Rain during the 89 Tennessee game.
That's right. Blame It on the Rain. That's a great one. From our era, I want something with some energy. Thunderstruck.
Yeah. A lot of the songs from our era are used now in a lot of sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything by Queen, the We Are the Champions, We Will Rock You and everything. And AC/DC is used a lot. The Rolling Stones are used a lot. Though I think the Stones were really a little bit right before our time. I always felt like they were, is it just me? I always felt like the Rolling Stones, even though they were still putting stuff out into the 90s and whatever, I felt they were like right before us. They never felt contemporary with me the way that,
agree.
Like when I was a little kid, Kiss was at their height really, and Van Halen was coming out, and Led Zeppelin was still kind of winding down, and but the Rolling Stones seemed like they belonged to my older brother and sister or my parents or something almost.
I can play Panama by Van Halen.
Oh, there you go. That's a good one. Running with the Devil too.
There you go.
You can't go wrong with Van Halen just because they're so up tempo, energy, positive. Jump.
Jump.
Huey Lewis was a very popular party band during our era. I don't know if they have a song that really fits this.
No.
Yeah, it's I was trying to think if there was a good Led Zeppelin or I'm more the hard rock, heavy metal type stuff most of my high school and college years, and reggae, honestly. I never was just a big pop guy. I was either like the hard stuff or the very funky. So it's hard for me to think of a good, like, everybody wants to rule the world type, stuff in the middle there. The mid 80s though were the golden era of the pop, just like the synthesizer pop band. That was just one hit wonder after one hit wonder on MTV throughout the 80s. So, how about something by Def Leppard, like Pour Some Sugar on Me or Armageddon or something? That'd be a good stadium song.
A good stadium song. I like that.
Yeah, Rocket. Yeah. All right, we can think more about this and report back if we come up with anything else, I think. Thank you, man.
All right. Last email is from Eric Mahan, who says, the subject line is most painful sports season ever. It says, John Van, I saw a graphic today that Auburn is one of 6 teams that didn't make a bowl game or get into the tournament in men's or women's basketball. Is this year historically the most painful single year in Auburn football and basketball combined? He says in 2012, when you started the podcast, our record in football was 3-9, and our record in basketball was 9-23. So obviously, on paper, that year was worse. I graduated.
What were we thinking, John? What were we trying to do, man?
You described it as another trip to the dentist, man. That was the early theme of this podcast.
Why did we want to talk about that in public?
We needed to talk through our suffering and pain.
All right. We needed therapy. And also, I think we always have faith that things are going to get better.
Right. And they did.
And they sure did.
He goes on to say, so obviously on paper, that year was worse. I graduated the summer before 2012. And while that year was definitely painful, you evidently became so numb to it that because we were so bad. However, in 2025, we were just good enough, close to be engaged in every game, only to lose in horrific fashion over and over again. Both teams were good enough to make a bowl in the NCAA tournament, but both teams did not. Both teams should have just won one more game, but didn't. Both teams had highly questionable referee decisions outside of their control determining the outcomes of games.
I'm having flashbacks.
That should not have mattered in the big picture, but ended up being the final nail in the coffin. The similarities are endless, as well as the pain. Thanks, Eric Mahon.
Blame yourself.
Listen,
I don't have facts to back this up.
I think we do.
No, we're going to do a little bit of this right here.
Yeah, there's only one way to deal with what he just laid out.
Smoke weed every day.
Yeah, that's it. Then you're right. You're right. When you're right, you're right. Auburn being down at all those sports at the same time and us trying to do a show about it. Well, all that is, John.
And that's nothing but pure and simple old-fashioned communism.
I like to think of it as loyalty to my program and my school and having faith in the future and being confident that things would get better. And there's another song. That's a good Auburn song. Howard Jones. Things can only get better. And how many years has that been true that things could only get better? Too many. Which is
Are we having fun yet?
Yeah, well, I'll let you know.
All right, that's it for listener questions. I got a little bit around the SEC for us.
Let's do it.
I just wanted to pose this. We had the situation where Calipari left, was basically pushed out of Kentucky, went to Arkansas. They welcomed him with open arms, a lot of resources. And Kentucky was like, he's more focused on NBA players than he is on winning. We'll be better off. Are they? Are they really? Arkansas won the SEC tournament for the first time since the 90s. Again, we Auburn basketball fans know about not being good, but Arkansas is the team with multiple national titles. They haven't won the SEC tournament since the 90s.
Yeah,
and they really won it with Calipari, and he's kind of ejected something back into that program. And Kentucky's just kind of, I mean, if you had to say right now who won that split, what would you say?
I mean, Arkansas is winning it right now. There's no doubt about it. I think in the long run, they may not, but right now, Arkansas definitely has come out ahead in that deal. Do you think it'll stay that way, though? That's the question for me.
I don't know. 2 years in a row, Kentucky's roster building strategy has not worked. So I think they may give the guy another year, but if it doesn't work next year, they're going to have a different coach, and it's going to be a different coach versus Calipari.
I think Arkansas is probably pretty happy with how it turned out.
Agree. They were the other guy that was there that left to go to Southern Cal was okay, but he didn't win the SEC tournament. He didn't bring in this much talent.
This may be a stupid question. With Bruce retiring last year, would you have wanted Calipari to be Auburn's coach?
No, but
I don't think you would have either. Maybe that's excited. Maybe we'd be crazy not to take him. If let's just say he'd come along and said, "Hey, let me come to Auburn and take over for Bruce." I don't think I'd have wanted that, but that may be dumb. I don't know.
I'll say this. He recruits talent at a very, very, very high level, right? He has more NBA players than anybody else. And he, the A-Cuff guy at Arkansas is a freaking monster. That guy is awesome. and he's going to be in the NBA next year. So we're not going to have to worry about him again, right? And that's the Calipari story is he brings in these one and done guys, and they're like, wow, man, but this is the other part. They're much better right now than they were 2 months ago. Arkansas.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, we beat them. I mean, and of course we beat.
Hey, we beat them. We beat lots of good teams.
Yeah, we lost to lots of bad teams. It's a very mixed bag, as they say. Oh, yeah. All right. I've been putting up the covers to our sports books on the screen for those of you watching on YouTube. And I'll just point out, we've got one more Iron Bowl book coming that I know of, but we've kind of pushed it back a little bit because this year is my write novels year, and I'm killing it. John, I am killing it. I've got 2 crime novels coming out by this summer. There's going to be a Kickstarter to get early advance signed copies and hardcovers and all that. So we'll talk about it on here when the time comes. But I'm nearly done with Monaco Heist and Chicago Heist. So this is my 1960s crime novels. Very excited. The other thing is, in 2027, I'm thinking the plan is kind of do a season with the Auburn Tigers type of thing. We'll come up with a title, but I just want to follow them around, right? We've talked about that, and that'll be a lot of fun. We'll do a book on that. So the 3rd volume in the Iron Bowl trilogy, I'm just going to have to not get hit by a bus between now and 2028 or something, and then we'll.
Please do not.
That's right. All right. Anything final?
Please, if you're a patron, check your email, sign up for the Wishbone Bracket, get your picks in.
Yep.
Locks at noon on Thursday. So that means get your picks in early and,
get ready for the NIT.
Let's go have fun in the NIT.
Let's do it. I'm going to fill my NCAA bracket out as soon as we get off the show while the show is editing down, and I'll have a little free time here, and I'll get it done.
NIT fever. Catch it.
Catch it. I like it. Our time is up. The Auburn basketball team's time is almost up, but maybe we can drag out a little bit longer. We thank you for yours. War Eagle John.
War Eagle Man.